In this training module, I'm going to show you how to think systematically about your innovation journey. This includes reviewing some of your past innovation experiences and thinking about the impact of your current innovation efforts. Let's get started. On the screen, you'll see a worksheet that I put together. And the reason that I recommend doing this exercise and using this worksheet is because it will do two things for you. First, it will help you get started on your writing process. If you're like most people, or like me, you've sat down to write something before on a blank screen and all you get is a blank mind. This process of answering a few questions, looking at some of your past and thinking about your experiences will help get your mind flowing so that you can sit down and then come up with ideas more fluidly, put them down on paper. Because after all, the objective of this whole workshop is to be efficient and productive in getting your provisional patent application drafted and filed. The second reason for this is that you'll be able to look at your invention from perhaps a slightly different perspective than what you've done in the past. The perspective that most inventors have is, what have I invented? What is the new device? What technology does it use? And those are all great questions. They're necessary to understand and to explain in your provisional patent application, but they're not necessarily the most motivating or driving force in your process. And so let's step through, and you'll see at the end that we're going to focus less on technology and more on impact. And so I think that'll become more clear as we go through this worksheet. So I'm just going to run through it really briefly. This will be a short training module, and you can get started writing at any point. So first, let's talk a little bit about your past experience with innovation. How in the past have you been involved in innovation? Are you an inventor by trade? Is that part of your job? Have you had other experiences where you've invented something before, or you've been involved in product development? Each of those might make it slightly easier for you to go through the innovation process again at this point in time. In what ways has innovation provided a positive impact in your life? Now, this doesn't get into the impact of what your invention now will do, but this is a primer for that. So think about this in terms of how your life has been impacted. What positive things have happened in your life because of innovation, any invention out there. Something in your home, something in your car, perhaps something at the hospital, perhaps something that a family member has or uses or created an intriguing or curiosity mind for you as a youth. Think about where innovation has played a part in your life to have a positive impact. And you don't need to write paragraphs and essays on this, but maybe jot down a couple ideas that come to mind quickly about where you've seen innovation play a positive part in your life. What's your area of expertise, skill, or interest? Now, you may in your job have a very technical field of expertise. You might have a job where you're creating and designing things all day, and that's just great. Many of us don't have that, and that's fine too. Think about what skills you might have, either professional or formal, and list a couple of those down here. If you don't feel like you've got formal skills that you can list here, think about just what your interests are. What types of things do you normally look at on the internet when you're browsing around? Just list down those things that capture your interest and go from there. Describe 3 situations when you find yourself being creative. Now, I listed 3 situations here very specifically. Don't shortchange yourself, because we all know that the first 2 that you list are going to be so-so. They're not going to necessarily be your best answer. Normally in these questions, if you don't know this already, the best answer that you're going to come up with is the third. Why is that? It's the same thing we're doing here, because the first 2 just act as primers to get your mind thinking before you come up with your real and best answer. So think about 3 situations when you think that you've been creative in the past. Maybe as an elementary school kid when you've created something or drawn a picture that came out of your mind. Maybe writing a short story at some point. Maybe tinkering with electronics or mechanics or building something in your wood shop as a kid. Maybe hanging out with your grandpa and fixing an old truck, perhaps. Just think of where you've been creative, where you've come up with a solution that wasn't necessarily the solution that somebody else would have asked you to come up with. That in itself is creative. So list those down here. In what way could your creativity positively impact another person? Just like you thought previously about how innovation has been a positive impact in your life, think about what your invention or your creativity could do to impact somebody else's life. And I want to distinguish here between features and functions and impact. A lot of times people will talk about the features or the functions of their invention. My invention does this. It has one of these. These 2 go together. It makes it so that you can then perform a certain task or fulfill a certain function. That's all great, but I want you to think about the impact. What is the experience that your innovation might create in somebody else's life? Think about things like medicine, where medicine has a drastic impact on the lives of the people who take it. Sometimes good, sometimes not so good if there are negative reactions. But in any case, you're creating an impact in someone's life. They live longer. It's not just that your medicine has certain chemical components in it, or that you take it certain times of day, or that it's a certain size of pill. It's that you are creating an environment and an opportunity for somebody through that medication to live longer, to live healthier, to be stronger, to heal faster. Those are the types of things that we're talking about when we talk about impact on other people. Think about also the types of inventions that you might produce. Maybe you've got one in mind already, or maybe you don't, and that's just fine. But think about the types of inventions that you are thinking about or might create and how those could have a positive impact on others. We're starting to tie the inventions to the impact, and that's very important because it's going to become one of your driving forces, one of your motivating factors to keep you going in the innovation journey. Now ask yourself, is there a group of people who would pay to have that type of impact that your invention might provide? Ultimately, you're going to want to and need to tie your innovation to impact that people will pay for. We don't have to do that now, and most of the time people don't know how to do that or don't take the time to do that before they file a provisional patent application. In fact, the provisional patent application process is precisely the tool that people use so that they can go and explore whether or not people would pay for their invention. But they want to protect it first, so they get their provisional patent application filed, they get patent pending status, and then they go out and they explore the market viability of their invention. Now describe why you're motivated to file a provisional patent application. Hopefully, after answering the rest of these questions before this answer will come out pretty easily because you now know that you're focusing on the impact you're creating on other people's lives. But I would guess that in the past, when you've thought about inventing something or even getting a patent, you've had a particular reason in mind why you want to get a patent. It might be because you want to have peace of mind so you can go out and talk to other people or manufacturers or customers about your invention and test the market viability. However, it might just be that you don't want someone else to steal your idea. It might also be that you want to be able to show others, have proof or evidence that you're actually an inventor. It's a title or a status symbol that you want to have. Maybe it's part of your current job. Maybe it's what you do every day and you want to get better at it. Or maybe there's another reason. But just think about and list a couple words or phrases as to why you think that you yourself are motivated to file a provisional patent application at this time. And finally, how would it be meaningful to you or to those around you if your innovation is successful? This goes beyond what the impact of your innovation is. The impact would tie directly to the innovation and how it improves the life of someone who uses the invention. In this scenario, the innovation process might actually lead to success that goes beyond the simple impact of your invention on someone else's life. And I want you to focus just briefly again, how would that success with your innovation impact your life, the life of your family, the life of your children, and the lives of those around you? That's it. This was a really brief exercise. It isn't critical that you do it, but I think it's very helpful. And you should now be able to think more critically about your own innovation journey, including what motivates you to innovate and what type of impact you might have for yourself and others by continuing to innovate.